told your friend you're not okay? And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way.
Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome back to the Caddy camper build. And if you've not been by the channel before, then my name is Sam and welcome to STL Cars. Now, as you may have seen, if you have watched any of the previous videos, we are doing a Caddy Maxi camper conversion. It's something I wanted to do for a very long time and finally doing it. So in the last video that you will have seen, we did the all of the insulation and the sound deadening in the back of the van. So basically just a quick recap of how we did that. We used some sound deadening foam pads that stuck directly onto the panels, and then we then put some of this stuff, as you can probably see. Not quite finished it off yet, but some of this sort of recycled bottle plastic insulation into all the major sort of gaps and cavities, and then we've used the thermowrap, like sort of foil bubble wrap with some foil tape to seal all that in and basically turn the back of the van into a spaceship. But in this video we are going to be looking at the flooring. So we're going to be basically building a wooden frame which is going to act as like the base, and then in between the frames sort of battens we'll be putting some more insulation so the floor is insulated, and then over the top of that we'll have a layer of a layer of plywood, and that plywood is then going to be act as just like the kind of the subsurface layer, if you want to call it that, just for extra strength, and then over that we'll be putting a laminate flooring in on top. So what we're going to do first is we're going to look at the frame and how we're going to do that, and then yeah, we'll go from there. So without further ado, let's get into the floor build. Guys, for building the base of the floor, we're going to be using these sort of timbers, and they are, I think they're 2.4 meters long. Obviously we'll come down. They are 25 mil by I think 38 mil. Essentially we've got this thickness because the foam insulation that we've got, which I showed you in a previous video, is 25 millimeters thick. So when this sits on the floor of the van, the insulation that we slot into the gaps will come up level to the battens. So what we need to do is build a frame. So we're going to start off essentially building a bit of a box frame, a bit of a rectangle, and then we'll start to obviously add extra battens and slats in from there to give it extra strength. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to measure the two long ones here, and then get them cut to size, and then yeah, we'll go for the two sort of horizontal ones, if you want to call them. That one's, it's not quite vertical, they're all horizontal, you know what I mean, the lengthways, widthways, that's the one. So yeah, we're going to go with cutting these two first to length so they slot nicely into the back of the van, and then yeah, we'll go from there. So I'll come back once I've got these cut. Right guys, so here you can see the sort of main frame now. So we've cut all of these to size, and then we've run essentially one right in the center and then equally spaced in between. That should provide loads and loads of support. So we'll just go around to this side. You can see I've just actually screwed these two together at one end just to like stop it from moving about while I was measuring and cutting. I am actually going to be sikaflexing this down to the floor just so it doesn't move. I think because I've built it nice and tight anyway, I don't think it would move if I just kind of screwed it all together. But I am going to add some sikaflex to it just for extra kind of like security that it's definitely not going to move. So I'm going to go and get the sikaflex now and stick these main battens down first, and then we can move on to doing like the sort of little widthways ones going down. Right, so guys, I've not sikaflexed it down just yet because I've actually run out of time for today. This isn't the end of the video, I've just got to go to work. So I'm going to do the sikaflexing of the battens down tomorrow and carry on this video tomorrow. So in a second we'll jump to future me tomorrow. But first I'm just going to show you what we've done so far. So as you can see, we have got all of the battens cut and laid out. So I have screwed some of them in, and that's purely just to like stop it from moving around and stuff. But yeah, as you can see, we've got essentially 5 going lengthways, 2 widthways at the ends, and then basically just kind of laddered along between each of those to provide some extra strength and support. I've just tried, just like sort of test fit the old plywood floor that was in the garage that we took out on top of this, and it's actually like really nice and firm. So that plywood floor is going to be going back in as the kind of the first layer of the floor. And I've just found a little trick. It is actually symmetrical, so because the top side that was the top side is old, manky and dirty, the other side is actually nice clean. So I will sand both sides down, but it means I can just put the cleaner side in. Not that it's going to be showing anyway, because it's going to be laminated over with laminate floor. But yeah, there we go so far. As you can see, this is how we've done the floor, and it's pretty good so far. So we will come back to future me tomorrow when we're going to Sikaflex this down.
2,000 years later.
Right, so we're back on with the floor. I'm like in completely different clothes, and I've had my hair cut since the first part of this video. But it's all been a bit sort of back to front and here, there and everywhere, and I've started doing other things, and then yeah, so it's not in sequence, but we're back on with the floor. So I think the last clip that I did, we had it all laid out, and essentially just waiting to Sikaflex it down. So that's what we're going to do now. We are going to get the Sikaflex. We are going to essentially stick it all in place so it doesn't move. What I have done is I've just numbered all of the battens, so when I obviously take them out and then re-stick them back in, I know exactly where they go. So I'm going to do the Sikaflex now, and then we'll come back once that's done. So there we go, guys. We've got the floor all Sikaflexed into place, so that is not going anywhere now. What we're going to do is we're just going to add the ply boards on the top, and then just try and add some weight on the top of it, just to weigh it all down until it's cured, and then we will then screw the ply boards down to it, because obviously we need to still put the insulation in there as well. And then yeah, and then it'll be onto the laminate on top of that. So guys, we're making pretty decent progress with the van. Downside to starting a van when it's coming into winter, you get home from work and it's absolutely pitch black. Luckily we've got some lights, which means we can carry on working when it's dark. But we've got the base flooring now with the battens all stuck down. We've got the foam board in between them, and then we've foil taped over all the joints. So what I'm going to do now is put the ply board, like subfloor, back in, screw that down to the joints, and then yeah, then it's ready for the laminate flooring. Alright, so we are carrying on with the floor. It's another day, probably about like a week later from when we last left off. So I'll just quickly spin the camera around and show you where we're up to at the minute. So we've got the plywood floor back in, we've got all the insulation done and all of the kind of like subflooring done. That's all screwed down now. So we've been to Wicks and we've bought some laminate flooring. We've gone for this brown oak colour, 8mm thick. We've got 2 packs, should be enough hopefully to cover the whole van. We did do a bit of a calculation of like how wide the van is, how long it is, and how much metre squared we need, and it said 2 packs, so hopefully it is enough with wastage. But we're going to get the packs out now, essentially lay them down first before we like do any cuts or stick things in place, just to make sure we've got enough, and then yeah, go from there. So without further ado, let's get laying these down. So we are making good progress. So we've just got some of the laminate flooring. This was really tricky to figure out how to sort of do this cut, but we basically just used a bit of cardboard, put it where we need to, folded it up, traced a line, use that as a bit of a template. But we've got the first 2 and a bit rows laid. I say laid, they're cut out, they're not stuck down yet. We're literally just kind of cutting everything to size, and then we'll stick it down once we're happy with the fitment. But yeah, pretty good progress so far, happy with where we're up to. We will catch back up once we've done the rest of it. Floor cut now, it's all laid out. What we're going to do is we've just give the van a good vacuum and brush out, get rid of all the sawdust. We're actually going to use some like spray adhesive that we used on the insulation, just to stick it down. It doesn't really need it because it's like a nice snug fit, not too tight, like we've left a little room for expansion and stuff, but it's pretty snug. So but the spray adhesive will just make sure it doesn't move around and it'll stay in place. So we're going to do that now. I'm going to do it all off camera just because it is getting later on in the day and I don't want it to get dark and us get stuck doing it in the dark. So I'm going to crack on and then we'll come back once the floor's finished.
Told your friend you're not okay, and tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long. It hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away. As you fade away.
Yeah, I'm about to fade away, 'cause every time